Okay, the final thing that we've got here is different exception types. So let's go ahead and look at this here. So we've got standard except, we've got our usual header. Here we've got a function that does this. We're going to find the result, and what we're going to do is we're going to square numbers provided that they are between 1 and 10, basically. I don't know why you would need a function that does this, but this is what we're doing. So what do we have? So if a is less than 0, we're going to throw it's actually not thrown, it's throw. There you go. Throw a logic error that says negative argument. So it's like, bruh, you can't put in negative numbers for what we're trying to do here. And then we'll have another one where it's like, if it's bigger than 10, we're going to be like, this is too large. So then throw an error. Like, bruh, I can't handle numbers that are that big. And then what this will do is, if this is okay, and if this is okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to return a times a. And you notice too, we've actually got two different things here. This is going to throw a runtime error. This is going to throw a logic error. So we're actually classifying these as different errors as well. So then what do we have? So we've got int x, while it is true. We're going to try this here. So it's basically just, it's always going to run this here, basically. We're going to input a value, and then we're going to output the result. And then we're going to have a catch. If it finds logic error, we'll output logic error, and then we've got e.what. So it's basically going to tell you that there's an error in the logic. Then here we've got a runtime error, and again we've got e.what, and it's going to tell us what the nature of the error is going to be. So if we run this, let's see. First, we're going to type in the number 3. That is perfectly okay because 3 is within the bounds of 1 to 10. So it's going to square the number, and everything will be hunky-dory. If I type in -1, it's going to give me a logic error and say logic error negative argument. And this is what I'm throwing here. So I'm saying what kind of error it is. And so the e.what, it's actually just displaying whatever string of text you have right here. That's what e.what does. If I try this with 30, which is going to be way too big, here this is a runtime error argument too large. So it's telling me it's a runtime error. That's what this is. E.what, it's displaying this message to the user, which I included in my function here, basically telling them that that argument is too big. And then it's actually going to keep doing this because I just always have this as set to true, so the program will never end. So we're just going to stop it altogether. But so throwing exceptions makes the code a bit more robust and allows us to deal with exceptional circumstances. It allows us to close the program entirely, prompt the user for a new input, or set default values to use if invalid entries are provided. And there are different ways you can deal with errors when you encounter them, and that just kind of depends a lot on the circumstances. Debugging is frankly what makes coding challenging. Like writing code is, I would say, not the hardest part. Editing and fixing code, that is where probably, I don't know, 80% of time and energy is devoted to. There was a programmer from back in the day who gave a quote that in programming circles is like considered very profound. He said something to the effect of, I had this realization one day that the rest of my life will be spent fixing my own errors. Anyway. All right, so that's what I got for you. And then, like I said, if you go to the project description, what we're basically going to do, part 1 of the assignment is to make a function called total, where it will read the strings of the cards. And then kind of like the palindrome program where it was like reading specific bits of the text, you basically want to read. This is gonna require like a boatload of if else statements because you're basically gonna need one for each of the different cards. If it reads a 2, you set the value of the card to a 2. If it reads a T, it's 10. An 8, it's an 8. Q is 10. So you're gonna have all this stuff. What's gonna be tricky is for the ace, what we're gonna do is start the value of an ace at 11. Then what you're gonna need to have your function do is add up the values of the cards to then display what that total is. So like you've got a 10 and a 8, and then you want to tell the user you are at 18, hit or stand. And then with an ace, like if they draw an ace as their next card, you would want to first say 18 plus 11 is 29. That's too high. So then if an ace is high and it goes over, the ace switches to being played low. So basically you're going to subtract 10 from the total and go from 29 down to 19. So a 10, an 8, and an ace would be a total of 19. And then you would ask them hit or stand. So in the event that their total is above 21, shave off 10 from the value of an ace and then see if they're still okay. So that's part 1 of the assignment. Part 2, I was kind of describing to you, have a function called choice. And basically this is going to involve a while loop, and then you basically prompt the user and say type in H or type in S. You do H for hit, which means they get a new card. Do S for stand. You basically exit the loop and they're going to keep the cards that they have. And then for part 3 of this, basically the goal is to put all this stuff together with the project from last time. So you're going to use the code that you had for the previous project where you like randomly drew cards from the deck. And then we're just going to add a little bit to that where if they've got the 8 of clubs and the 10 of diamonds, show them what their total is, ask if they want to hit or stand, and then have error messages, try and catch clauses to throw errors if they choose some option other than hit or stand. So that's kind of the gist of this. So this basically requires like some new code. This is some new code right here. And then part 3, you're basically just supposed to put it all together into one program. So that's what I got for you all today.